guys, you're welcome to another edition of a Value Builders Talk Show brought to you by HEARTCLINIC TV. Yeah, HEARTCLINIC TV, Value Builders Talk Show. We talk about everything and anything related to human issues that adds value to our lives. A lot of Christians grew up in Christian homes. They watched their parents pray while growing up. So we want to find out whether the way that we all learned how to pray is the right way, or there is another aspect to prayer. Because I've noticed that a lot of Christians, they lack that intimacy when they pray. They basically don't even know how to pray somehow. And when they pray, they feel, does God answer my prayers? I've been praying about this for a lot of time or so years, and it's not working out. So they see prayer as something that maybe doesn't work out every time, or they have to have a particular attitude, or I don't know. But generally, we're just going to talk about how to be pray and some of the things relating to prayer as well. I won't be the one to do the talking because I have an amazing man of God in the studio with me. I would like him to introduce himself so that you will get to know.
Yeah, good day everyone. It's an awesome privilege to be on this talk show. It's my second time also. Yes, and my name is Chuks and here I'm part of Waiting Watch Great Poets there, and also privileged to be in the team. Yeah, so that's Chuks. Alright, good day everyone. Good day once again. So we have a very interesting subject matter before us, prayer. And oftentimes there's a lot of myths attached to, or let me use the word mythology rather, attached to prayer, that sometimes we lose the essence of what prayer is actually. Now, I'm talking from as a Christian, as a believer in Christ Jesus. Prayer in simple terms that the pastor in the pulpit, or the Bible scholar, or the one that's gone to Bible school, down to the person that just got saved as a baby Christian, is just simply this: prayer is the greatest form of dependence a man can show to God. Simply put, prayer is what puts God in his rightful place as the giver, and us in our rightful place as receiver. You understand? So when we try to get into other things, that's where the seeming complication comes in. So simply put, it's that yes, there's fellowship, yes, and all like that is there, but basically just putting ourselves in that place of dependence. You understand? Because there are actually two ways to do that. You can actually depend on your smarts, on your wits, on your intellect, or you can depend on the Lord as a Christian. So to start this segment off, it's one interesting thing that got me about the question that our precious sister asked is, how do you pray? And as I was brooding over it, another question I was asking is that, why should God answer your prayer? It's a very interesting question, because most of the time, if I were to ask you, why should God answer a prayer, and if you've been in the faith for some time, unconsciously you might just catch yourself saying, I've been a Christian for a long time, I've been going to church for a while, I read my Bible, I do my morning devotion. God should answer me now. Or probably if you're serving, and it's awesome, please continue to serve out of your heart of rest. You would always want to say, I serve, so the Lord should answer me now. Come on. So then, but most of the time, what we see in such situations there is that these people that believe this seemingly don't have rather the answers to their prayers, and it shocks everybody, because you see people say, people can even vouch for this sister, saying she's in church when the doors open, she cleans the chairs if you don't have properly arranged chairs at all, she sweeps, she's always there, this and that, so many good things, that when she's in trouble or she's in need, our flesh directly expects this lady to be answered by God. But when another lady or someone that's right from the red light district, maybe that she had like a very crazy past, comes in, and we see that she asks the Lord for something, and almost immediately she gets the answers to her prayers. That it leads to ask the question, why is God unfair? I know where this lady is coming from. God should answer this lady. We're going somewhere. The same way in healing rallies, like a very famous healing evangelist said that he doesn't understand God sometimes. That God's will sometimes baffles him. That the most moral people he has in his church, he has found out that in his healing rallies, they usually are not the first to get healed. They usually, most of the times, live there still with the same illnesses. But people that just came in, just got saved, have not like been so deep, don't know so much theology, and yet they get healed first, they get the breakthrough, and it baffles us a lot because still we think prayer is all about us. Now, the only reason why Daddy God would answer your prayer is just one. Because you came in His Son, Christ Jesus. Because you didn't come in your works. Because you didn't come in your thinking that you've been good enough. You didn't come in your thinking that you've served enough. But just for one singular particular reason. You came in the name of Christ. So that defeats our flesh. You understand? Now, all these things I've just said outside, I've just said right now, you might not necessarily say it outside. We might ask you, why should God answer your prayer? You might tell us, because God is good, He's a good Father, He's my Father. But on the inside, your heart, you're saying, I've been a good Christian now. I've been faithful, I've been serving. But for God to answer you at that particular state that you're in, coming to Him, will be a great travesty of justice. As in, God's holiness will actually cry out and say, foul. You know why? Because all flesh is guilty before Him. So we stand in our new representative, Christ Jesus, to come before Him. That's prayer. So that's why we have a lot of people that become, my husband is a lot for them, that become atheists, saying God is unfair, God is not nice. I watched my mother on the sick bed. She died and we're praying and we're fasting and we're crying. They will tell you things like she was serving in church. Why didn't God answer her? Because they fail to understand that God does not answer our prayers because we are good, but because we are in His Son Christ Jesus, because we are coming in His stead, because God can never deny His Son Christ Jesus whatever He asks.
Okay, so I want to ask, does God answer the prayer of unbelievers that don't really believe in Christ but just decide to test if that name works?
Alright, thank you so much for that question. Looking at it this way, the prayer that the Lord answers of an unbeliever is His prayer to be saved, is His prayer to accept Christ into his life as his Lord and Savior, to become His son. Because aside from that, this person, this unbeliever, does not enjoy the rights and privileges that his son or a daughter enjoys. Case in point, when the Syrophoenician woman, when she came to meet Jesus Christ, and she said, my daughter is sick, even to the point of death, that please heal her. She used the name there, though that was still in between dispensation of the law and grace, because grace started after Christ died. She said, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus Christ said, he's not sent but only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then he said that he cannot take the children's bread and give it to the Gentiles. Used in terms, said dogs there, but it meant puppies. Then she said something. She said, even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall off the master's table. Now, think of it this way. If a crumb from the table could drive out the demon in that little child, how much more those that are on the table. So we see that it's just based on the mercy of the Lord that that lady got, that Gentile rather got that blessing, right? But the main prayer that the Lord answers for the unbeliever is the prayer for them to accept Christ. So what usually happens is that there is a tasting, there is as we call it, a preview. You understand? There is like a trailer that an unbeliever is given, you understand, to now come to the table. So that's like what the unbeliever gets, you understand. So but the idea is that he, the believer that is on the table, that has all these rights and privileges, if he doesn't know what he has, it will seemingly look as though he's living lower than lower than the unbeliever. So it gets to that point of you need to really know what you have, and you will see yourself truly living the abundant life, because the believer has it much more better in Christ. So but because he or she doesn't know, it will seemingly look as though the person is experiencing a lesser life. So the main prayer that the Lord answers of an unbeliever is the prayer to be saved. And in so doing that, he gives the unbeliever a trailer of what he or she can enjoy. Because now, case in point, final example, case in point, all the people that were healed in Jesus Christ's ministry, none of them was saved, because he had not yet died. You understand? They were all sinners. So they were enjoying the mercy of the Lord, right? But now, the mercy of the Lord was the trailer to grace of what was to come. You understand? That's the right to sit on the table. That's sonship. The right to be called joint heirs. You understand? The right to be called a son of God. The right to be called the seed of Abraham. You understand? So they were all receiving trailers like, this is it, that is so much more better. So that's how gracious our Father is.
Alright, so I think I get the point of that. So if a believer feels as if he's living a life less than an unbeliever because he feels that unbeliever is getting more results, it is because that believer does not know what he has.
Yes.
Alright, okay. Yeah, I agree with that. Alright, so go ahead.
Alright, so continuing on our train of thought, so you would see now that the only reason that the Lord answers our prayers is because of His Son Christ Jesus. I usually like to meditate around these lines most of the time. Like when I want to pray and I find myself like really overwhelmed by things, I ask myself, can God deny Christ anything He asks? Like, can God tell Christ, no, that's too big? No. You know, then the answer is no. You get? So I say to myself that, and I remind myself again that as He is in heaven, so am I in this world.
Yeah.
So I come in Christ to you, Father. Help me out in this. Bless me with this. So it happens this way most of the time. When we get saved, right? The joy and everything that we experience is there. Now, what happens is that's why they call it the pride of knowledge. Scripture says knowledge puffs up, love edifies. The pride of knowledge now is you saying, okay, Lord, I now know a whole lot about this and all like that, yeah. So you should bless me. So it will look as though this person that is like 4, 7, 10 years in Christ. Some usually call it that why is it not so going well for me as it was when I first got saved? Because when you first got saved, your entire trust was none of myself, none of works that any man should boast, but all of Christ. Daddy God, thank you for blessing me because of your Son Christ. But now you are growing. So I want you to understand that this happens unconsciously. Like, this is not a verbal procession. This is not a verbal profession.
It happens verbally.
Yes.
My experience when I gave my life to Christ, the person who helped me, because I was from a Muslim background, so I had to kind of like, it wasn't really lie, but she had to tell my dad some things for me to stay with her so that I would follow her to church Sunday morning. She told me that when I first gave my life to Christ, I'll be called a baby Christian. So after like 6 months or a year in my journey with Christ, God will start to use some things to test me. So when I pray, I won't receive answers. So I just have to keep on praying. You know this kind of prayer that you'll be sweating.
They call it pray hard. Like, you know, someone says for this situation, man, you gotta pray hard. You have to pray hard. You know. Now that's the pride of knowledge coming in there. Because true knowledge brings you back to understand that it's all about Christ. That's why Paul said that I may know him and power of resurrection. That's why you see in Paul's letters, he always tell you that, like in 1 Corinthians, he will say, I determined to know nothing else but Christ and him crucified. So every single knowledge is to point you back that it's all about Christ. Daddy God is blessing me, not because I now know so much of the Pauline epistles, but because of his son Christ Jesus. And the Pauline epistles unveils to you more of his son Christ Jesus. So what usually happens, they call it in the world they call it beginner's luck. That's what they will say. But we in the church we operate under grace. But what I want you to understand today is that I'm not advocating that everything will be all hunky-dory, sweetie pie and everything like that. But what I'm saying is that it can actually be much more better than it is now. You can even have it much more better than when you first got saved. Because if you check it out, when you first got saved, and if I ask you now, what was most conscious in your heart? Christ loves me. Christ died for me. He gave his all for me to enjoy the abundant life. But now, you're now more of saying that I need to do this. I need to ensure I do this. I need to be more dutiful. I need to serve well. I need to do that before God will bless me. Because now I now know much more than someone that just got saved. So what's happened is that you've now shifted the focus. And I want you to understand that yes, someone could be saying it out that, like when the person, anybody that you see saying it out as saying that, do you know how much I serve the Lord? Do you know what I do? It's because this person has had it up to here. Because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. You get so in the privacy of that person's heart's home, the person says when he or she prays, I fasted for 75 days, dry, no water. I've read scriptures, and I'm not against all this, but I'm trying to make you understand that all this should give you a greater consciousness of your dependence on Christ. So, but when all this makes you start depending on yourself before God, God has to deny you there and then, so that you don't catch the flip side of it. Because now you're operating under the law and you're falling from grace. Whoever attempts to be justified by the law has fallen from grace. So, because at that point now you're trying to justify yourself before the Lord with those things that are good. Don't get me wrong, these things are good, but the essence of these things is to give you a greater consciousness that, Lord, you are blessing me because of Christ. Yes, I have this certificate. Yes, I have this. Yes, I've gone for seminars. Yes, I've been walking with you for the past 7-10 years. But I know it's not in the pride of my knowledge, but it's in you, because of you, Christ Jesus. That's why Daddy God is blessing me. In that place, you always remain conscious of Christ, and you're always in that position, as we said at the beginning, whereby you're putting God at his rightful place as giver, and you at your rightful place as receiver. Understand this thing. You can't give except you have received. In Romans 11 it says, what can we give except, what do we have except what we have received? You understand? What do we have except what is given to us? You get me? So the greatest givers in the church, not just like in terms of money, but those that give us emotional strength, those that it seems like they always have a word in season to give to us, to say to us when things are wrong and all like that, are those that receive the most. And it's actually about that consciousness of Christ. That's what I want you to say about prayer today. That is a question of what are you dependent on? Are you dependent on your works, or are you dependent on the Lord? And I want you to understand that You could be in church right now, you could be in the gathering of believers right now, and you know the lingo. You can parrot it and say, I trust in the Lord. You can teach a parrot, say, I trust in the Lord. You can come out in public and say, I trust in the Lord. Why is God not answering me? But God cannot own that lie. Because you're coming like the Pharisees and saying, why is God should bless us? They are his people. You understand? But God is trying to make you understand that, like Cain, that was coming in the works of his hands, Daddy had to reject him. Because look at the flip side now. This might sound a bit heavy, but it's true. If you tell God to bless you when you're good, you must accept the flip side, that when you're bad, God should curse you. That's the law, as in that's the strictness of the law. But when you come in Christ, there is no curse in Christ. You understand? So when you're good, when you're bad, Daddy still blesses you because of Christ. And this goodness leads you to repentance, leads you to changing your mind. You understand? So that we don't go so much, because it's like a very brief talk show. Let's give us 2 examples and we'll wrap this up. You understand? It's actually really a question of who do you trust? Sincerely, who do you trust? I'm not asking you of the lingo you give when you're around the Christian brethren. I'm not asking you of the lingo you've been taught. Because there was a question Sister Tifa asked. She said, what do you say to some people that have been praying and praying and praying? I've been praying for breakthrough for the longest of time, and it seems as though nothing is breaking forth, nothing is happening. Daddy loves you so much, because now, deep down in your heart, you might not voice it out, but you might be saying, I've been good enough. I've held myself for a long time. God should bless me. But for God to bless you in that state, God would have to apologize to the Pharisees. And God would never apologize. You think you are good? Oh man, you need to check out the Pharisees. They know the Torah at the age of 5, like a prospective Pharisee knows the Torah. That's the first 5 books of Moses. They know it by heart at the age of 5. When they get to their 20s, they know the entire Old Testament by heart. You think you are good? They keep 613. But still, as in by the law shall no flesh be justified before God. So God has hinged the entire redemption on the person of Christ. Because you need to understand this flip side about true holiness and justice. Once you say, God bless me, I'm good, God has to curse you when you're bad. He just has to. So that system cannot function, because God loves man so much. So he had to bring Christ. So Christ took all the bad that we deserved at the cross, for us to receive all the good that we don't deserve. That is grace. So the moment you try to deserve unmerited, undeserved favor, God has to keep you on pause for you to understand that it's not about you, it's about a son. You understand? So to such a person, I would say truly ask yourself, are you thinking it's because you are good that God will bless you, or it's because of Christ? Because other people had stood before Pharaoh to interpret dreams. Do you know that? He had astrologers, he had magicians. But Joseph, 1 hour before Pharaoh, and he was even higher. Pharaoh even promoted him above himself. That's favor there. That's what prayer. So prayer, like when they say I have a life of prayer, it's basically saying I have a life of dependence. Like we could go into speaking in tongues and all like that. That's like another very beautiful aspect of prayer. But I want you to understand that if you truly take God, if you truly understand grace and are dependent on God, you will pray more. Because as I was sharing with Sister Tifa backstage, is this: check the 10 Commandments. There is no a thou shalt pray. You don't have a thou shalt pray, because that hinges on man's strength. When you say do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, but to pray, you say, oh, why? Like you will not. I want you to understand. You might not say it out. Like you could be around. Let's say there's a problem now. You understand? And we say, okay, let's pray first. Everybody say, but we can just find the solution now and fix it. Like you can say God gave us a tree for us to turn it into a table. You understand? But see, you need to pray and receive the wisdom to do that. Do you get me? So people try to excuse prayer because prayer suggests and says that I trust in the Lord. So you could be faced with a challenge now. Yes, give us a solution. But if you truly trust in the Lord, you say, Lord, I need wisdom to do this. Help me. Then you step out having trusted. That's prayer. So when they say how is your prayer life, it's basically saying how is your dependence life? Who do you depend on? So you hear people say you need to pray 1 hour, you need to pray 5 hours. That's good. But get me right, it's like saying this. It's like saying this basically. You could put it this way. How is your dependence life? What are you depending on? If you depend on someone for your livelihood, you're always talking to that person.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So just like now I want to touch a very sensitive area right now. 2 sisters in church. One has an history. Everyone knows this lady has a very beautiful, awesome history. You understand? She hasn't been the best of the best, but she got saved. She really believed in the Lord. She believes in grace. She believes it's not by her past or by anything, that she has a bright future in the Lord. You understand? Things start happening for this sister. I don't want to use marriage because that's almost like the cliche of everything. You understand? But you get what I'm saying. Things happen for the sister. She's just blessed left, right, center. And there's this lady again in church. She has been keeping herself. She grew up in church. Been keeping herself. Hasn't messed up in any way. You understand? And that's good. That's beautiful. If you're a young lady and you haven't done that, keep yourself. It's beautiful. It's awesome. But don't trust in that because you have kept yourself, God should bless you. So, because you must also accept the flip side, that when you mess up, God has got you. Sin is heavy. When we say sin, we think of just the big ones, like when we're probably binging on pornography or sex or drinking or booze. No. Have you ever doubted before?